A while back, we made some what-ifs surrounding Luz going to the Amphibia World and Anne going to the Owl House World. But while we finished Luz's story, we never did finish Anne's. And considering that the Owl House finally reached its climax not too long ago, I think it's only fair that we finish this off, don't you? If you wish to see the last part before this one, we'll leave it up for ya, but for now, let's get into the story.
Welcome to channel Frederator, the cartoon central of the internet. Before we begin, we publish new videos every week, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video.
Everyone at the Owl House is finally reunited, and it's obvious that Ida is going through a tough time supporting everyone. Anne, being the hard worker that she is, would begin looking for a job to make money, where she would join a pirate crew in hopes of helping them capture a Selkidomus for the valuable material it creates. At first, Anne is okay with this, but upon learning that the Selkidomus will be killed, she begins to chicken out. But when it's revealed that the Emperor's Coven is behind this, and further that they've captured King, threatening to kill him unless she helps, Anne proceeds to get Ida, and the two hatch a plan to fake the creature's death and save King. This works, and while Anne doesn't get paid, she is rewarded with some Selkigri as reward, which Ida informs her is actually very valuable. Later, when it's revealed that Amity's parents are having Anne, Willow, and Gus expelled for being bad influences on their daughter, Anne decides to give them a piece of her mind. And by piece, I mean the whole thing and then some. In the end, the Blights convince her that they'll have Principal Bump let the other students back into the school if she helps them with something, so she agrees. Little does she know that they plan to kill her in an effort to sell a new model of their abominations. However, as they try this, Amity gets involved. Anne, with her calamity powers, surprises everyone and destroys the abomination all on her own, which actually causes the Blights to take a hit with their new model. Amity stands up to her parents and demands that they let Gus, Willow, and Anne back into the school to continue studying. Things are quiet for a time, but as Anne is relaxing, she hears Lilith questioning King's royalty, which he refutes. Anne thinks that this doesn't really matter, as she herself questioned it, but thinks that they're both being childish for fighting about it. This leads to them going on an excursion to see where King came from, and it's then revealed that Ida made the whole thing up. Anne would have to fight the creature that protected King, and due to her powers and overall athletic nature, she manages to hold it off just long enough for the others to discover a new mystery. Who is King really? After this, Ida and Lilith's mother pays them a visit, where she plans to use some new type of magic she learned from some mumbo-jumbo con artist to heal them, but is instead disappointed. With Anne's help, she drives off the con artist and returns to the old way of dealing with the curse, and slowly begins to reunite with her daughters. After this, Amity would help Anne read about Philip Whittabane, another human who got lost in the Isles. Anne is excited to learn about this, but isn't quite sure what to make of it. Before they can complete their study though, a rat eats the book and leaves Anne at a loss. They capture the rat and hold it, hoping that it will eventually help them out, as it seems like it's a special type of rat that can eat and then project knowledge. It's then that the Bat Queen brings Palisman to be chosen by the students. However, the issue here is that Anne isn't going to want to stay all night with the Palisman like Luz does, which means she's not there to stop the Emperor's Coven from taking them. This results in all the Palisman being taken by Emperor Belos and used to treat his sickness. The Bat Queen, in return, loses trust in the Witches of the Boiling Isles and returns to her forest, where she refuses contact with any humans from that point on. Eventually, the Emperor's Coven discovered a little box on the Boiling Isles with traces of the same magic that Anne uses. As they study the box, they come to realize that it may be a portal back to the human world, the same type of portal that they'd been working so hard to build. But instead of requiring the blood of a Titan, it only requires Anne. During the Coven Day parade, Anne overhears Kikimora wishing to be with her family, so Anne thinks of a way to get Rain back, who had previously been kidnapped after a failed attempt at revolt with Ida. Anne would offer to kidnap Kikimora, but they're stopped by Terra Snapdragon, who coaxes her back to the Emperor's side, all while trying to capture Anne. Anne manages to escape though because she's, well, Anne, and laments that she was unable to get Rain freed. Later, Lilith informs Anne that there is a way for her to go back in time and find Philip Whittabane and ask him all the questions she wants to know, through the use of a time-warping puddle. They go back in time to the Deadwardian era and meet up with the old human, but he needs to go on an excursion to the Titan's Head, so he tells them that if they help him, he will help them in return. So they follow him to the Titan's Head, and there they're faced with a large beast that guards a mirror belonging to the Collector that Philip wanted, and it's revealed that he's betraying them and leaving them to die so he can get his hands on it. However, Anne transforms into Super Saiyan Blue and goes toe-to-toe with the beast, managing to defeat it, though she is too tired afterward and passes out before they can catch up with Philip. It's determined by Lilith that it would be best to return to their own time while Anne rests. and so they leave the Deadwardian era for the present, not yet knowing that Philip Wittebane is actually the true form of Emperor Belos. After this, Amity comes to Anne, who is down in the dumps due to having learned nothing, and reveals to her that she's been reading these books called the Good Witch Azura series of novels that had been written in the human world. But Amity believes that the books may have actually been written by a witch. And so they begin to go off and start searching for the author, and in turn find themselves before the scam artist Mr. Tibbles, who informs them that he merely changed the author's photo on the back to help sell more copies. After this, Amity decides to join the Bonesborough Brawl to prove herself to her father that she is indeed strong enough to make her own decisions, and decides to help with this since she's a bit of a martial arts expert. She begins to teach Amity Muay Thai, and together the two enter the brawl, in which they do pretty well. All the while, Ida is trying to get Warden Wrath to explain what the Day of Unity is to them by giving him a potion, but instead it turns him into a monster because the potion wasn't ready. This leads to the monster breaking through into the brawl, where Anne must use her full power to help defeat him before passing out. In the end, Warden Wrath gives them the information they seek, and Amity's father decides to respect his daughter's decision when she tells him she doesn't want to join a coven. Later, after Ida tells Anne about how she and Rain met, Anne is inspired to help Rain invade Belos' mind along with Darius, in which Anne and her new friend Hunter, formerly the Golden Guard, end up doing. As they enter Belos' mind, they're attacked by a monster made up of all the souls of Palisman that Belos had devoured. Anne uses her powers to fight it, but is drained, so Hunter has to help her along. It's revealed to them that Belos was Wittebane all along, and that he had manipulated the people of the Boiling Isles into believing that he was the voice of the Titan, teaching them that wild magic is dangerous, and that he would show them the way that the Titan intended them to use it. As they continue to go through memories, they learn about the true plan of the Day of Unity, which was to kill all witches by draining their magic. But above this, they learn that Hunter all along is a Grimwalker, a homunculus created by one of Philip's old friends. This really upsets Hunter, and upon being pulled out from the Emperor's mind, he runs off. Anne, however, getting her strength back, runs after him into the woods, where she finds him slumped by a tree, the crushing weight of this new information truly causing him to break down. She sits with him and asks if he's okay, and he informs her that nothing is okay, and that he doesn't even know who he is anymore. Anne would decide to pull out an old quote she remembered and speaks. "I remember something a very intelligent cat in a similar situation to you once said." Hunter would look up. "A magic cat?" She would think about it. Sure. Anyway, it said, "I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are." She could tell that this didn't help all too much, but she continued to drive the point home by telling him that all that mattered was that he was Hunter and that he was alive. How he was created and why meant nothing, and that what mattered most to her is that he was alive. This moment seems to spark something between the two of them, and Anne and Hunter begin to view each other in a different light. After this, as Anne continues to tell Ida, Lilith, and the others about what she saw, Hooty reveals that he received a letter for King from someone who may be King's father. So together the group goes off to find this person, and are met by Tarak, who informs King that they're Titan trappers, and wishes to teach King the secrets to it. Anne and the others begin to meet with the Elder, and it's revealed that these beings aren't really the same species as King, but actually witches wearing Titan pelts, and they explain that King is actually a Titan himself. They plan to sacrifice King, but Anne would activate her powers to rescue him, and the group would teleport back to the Owl House, where they would destroy the stone leading to the portal. Anne would then grow weak and nearly pass out, but as they go to take her inside, they're attacked by the Emperor's Coven. Anne is captured by the Emperor's Coven. As they take them away, she begins to call upon her powers in her fatigued state and manages to free the others, although she does fall unconscious and is taken to the Emperor's castle. The other witches attempt to work on stopping the Emperor from draining the life out of everyone. Anne is still tired but recovering, and the Emperor attempts to sweet-talk her into believing him to be the good guy, even offering her a prestigious position with him, but she doesn't believe him for a second, and states that she would rather die than be his tour guide. He says that he can arrange this, and begins to drain her of all of her Calamity powers, as well as her life force, which he then plans to use to fuel the Calamity box to open a portal to the human world. But as this is happening, Ida is attempting to corrupt Belos' spell, but fails. It's up to King, Hunter, and the other witches to stop Belos by freeing the Collector. And so they show up to push Belos back and save Anne, where she swoons when she sees Hunter as her hero, and the two share a kiss. It's then that King lets the Collector out and vows to play with him if he stops Belos' spell. And so the Collector agrees and just pulls the moon out of its eclipse with the sun, which Anne thinks is creepy. It's then that they're sent back to the human world by King, who forces them to open the box again. Unbeknownst to them, Belos is following closely behind. They end up back in Los Angeles, where she takes her friends to her parents' house, who are so happy to see her again. They're a little freaked out that she brought some friends with her, but they realize that they have nowhere to go and let them bunk there. It's then that Anne proceeds to tell them what happened, why she was gone for so long, and what this means. But her parents don't really believe her, though she insists, going so far as to show them her powers, which causes them to believe her. From here, they begin to search for a way to get her friends back to the Boiling Isles. As she does so, Hunter asks her what happens after that. They're both from separate worlds. If she opens a portal back to the Boiling Isles, will she stay in the human world? And she states that she has to, just as he has to return to the Boiling Isles. After this, the search for a way back slows down, as motivations for doing so would drop, only still continuing because the other witches deserve to be able to return home and be with their families. She would eventually find a vase that had a picture of the Calamity Box on it, and this leads her to Dr. Jan and Terry, the latter of which helps them open a portal back to their own home. Hunter and Anne both seem nervous about this, but they swallow their fears for their friend's sake and jump back through the portal to the world of witches. As they make it back, they find that the Boiling Isles is nothing like it used to be, with everyone being turned into puppets. The only ones not turned into puppets are King, Ida, and Lilith. Everyone else has become puppets save the students of Hexside, which has become the last bastion against the Collector. There they find that Basha is in charge, ruling the school like her own personal kingdom. While there, Anne convinces everyone to fight back, and when it was revealed that Basha was being influenced by Kikimora, even Basha is convinced to fight back against her, and the school kids rid themselves of her. They then decide to go to the castle to confront the Collector. While there, they seem to convince the Collector that what he is doing is wrong, and due to King's intervention, the Collector is willing to stop. But Belos then takes control of the Titan's heart and prepares to use all of its power to destroy the Collector. And so Anne calls on all of her power at once to increase her strength, and proceeds to go after Belos. There she manages to use her full power final blast to destroy both Belos and the Titan's heart, letting the creature finally pass on. However, Anne falls to the ground from overexertion. Hunter rushes to her side and holds her and begs her to stay with him, but she tells him that it's okay and that this is for the best, so long as it means that he and her friends are now free. She then closes her eyes and seems to turn to dust. As everyone weeps over Anne, her soul is transported to another plane of existence, where she converses with the Guardian of the Stones, who takes the form of her cat, Domino. Domino tells her that she was the first person who ever used the stones for a selfless act, and that she is worthy of becoming the next Guardian to look over the multiverse. Anne states that she isn't wise enough yet and turns down the cat's offer, but it instead decides to wait until she is wiser and decides to return her to life, where it plans to grant her another 78 years of life before she eventually takes over as Guardian. She would wake up once more in Hunter's arms, where he is at first shocked and then finally relieved to see her alive again. Once more, the two share a kiss. With the Boiling Isles saved and just enough energy being left in the stones for a one-way trip, Anne looks around at everyone and bids them farewell, as it can't be certain how much longer the box will hold out. After they all bid her a tearful farewell, she once more embraces Hunter. Hunter cries on her shoulder that they only just met and that he loves her. He asks why she can't stay with him. She tells him that she has a responsibility to her family, but that they'll always be friends no matter where they go. She then proceeds to leave, but before she goes, Hunter once more embraces her. She tells him that it's cute, but he's gotta lay off a little now. He tells her that he's made his decision and that he will leave the Boiling Isles with her, and she tells him that he's insane. But he tells her that he has no family and nothing holding him back, that he can go anywhere. And so, after some thought, and making sure that he is certain about this, she relents, and the two bid farewell to the Boiling Isles for the last time and end up back in the real world. During this time, Anne, Marcy, and Sasha meet up together, and they tell her about their own weird journeys, in which they landed in a world ruled by frogs, and only made it out with the help of some girl with magic glyphs. Together, the four of them continue to grow, until eventually Anne and Hunter get married. Anne would eventually be able to become a historian, being inspired by the world she had once visited as well as all the history that connected it to her world. And Hunter becomes a paranormal investigator, where he ends up the next generation of investigators on the television show Ghost Harassers, with another fellow named Dipper Pines. Yes, I went there. If we're doing crossovers, I'm gonna cross over everything. Anne would eventually have children and then even grandchildren before passing away at the ripe age of 91, where she goes on to become the next Guardian of the Stones, where she's happy to watch over all of the multiverse, including the Amphibia and Owl House worlds together. And that is where this story ends. It took nearly a year for this final part to Anne's story in the Boiling Isles to officially wrap up, but I feel like it was well worth the wait. With both the Owl House and Amphibia over with, it feels a little sad, and Disney XD seems slightly empty now. What's that? We all watch streaming now? True. I suppose I could go back and rewatch Amphibia and the Owl House whenever I want. Hot dog. Maybe I'll go do that right now.
Did you enjoy our video? Well then, be sure to check out these other great videos from channel Frederator. And make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.